I'm Chris Talbot.
I'm Rawl.
And we're here to talk again about beer. Probably notice our clothes haven't changed. We're shooting multiple episodes here in one sitting. But we're sharing the beer, so it's okay.
It's very much like the old Bob and Doug McKenzie. Just a little trivia.
I don't know what you're talking about, eh?
I don't know, eh? I should have brought my toque. So we're going to have some beer here, eh?
So you need your stubbies, eh?
It's not exactly the tank house.
Oh, I should have bottled it in a stubby.
You should have done the stubby. So, we are not, in fact, drinking in Mill Street Tank House.
It's just in the bottle.
But Mill Street is an excellent beer.
What we've got here is the T&D IPA, which was, the recipe was developed, and then the beer was brewed by myself and my friend Will Eggets. So let's open this up. Now, well, what do you know about IPAs?
I know the history of an IPA, that their IPA is an India Pale Ale. And
that.
Ooh. Historically, what I understand with the IPA, actually, going to the Alexander Keith's factory.
Well, they don't use that name here.
I'm sorry. Going to the factory, they were talking about, they wanted a beer that would survive trips to and from India. And so they developed this style of beer that had preservatives or something, but it could survive the trip from India to Canada or wherever they had to go. And apparently the soldiers back in the rebellion days weren't allowed to drink the water because they weren't too sure if the water was fresh. And so by law, they had to drink, I think it was 7 hogsheads of beer, which is the equivalent of about 14 pints a day.
I'm sure they were very productive members of society.
Can you imagine? By law, I have to drink that much beer. Anyway.
Well, but especially with IPAs, because you know, like you just mentioned something very important about the IPA style, and that's because it was made with preservatives to ship long distances. Now, do you know what makes the preservatives?
I don't know.
There's 2 things. I'm simplifying, but there's 2 things. One is hops, which is why an IPA is supposed to be much hoppier, which is why a lot of beer geeks get mad at Alexander Keith's, because it is not a hoppy beer. It does not actually fit the IPA flavor profile.
Oh.
That's why you get beer geeks who will go off, just like me, who will occasionally go off on Alexander Keith's. I'm perfectly okay with Keith's. I like drinking it, but it's not an IPA. Now, the other thing, of course, is the alcohol content. An IPA should have a higher alcohol content. The average beer that we drink, of course, is like 5%. An IPA should be, I mean, there is a range, but it should be closer to about 6 or so, give or take. Now, we have the T&E IPA. Someone made a comment that it should have been T&A IPA.
So
everyone's a smartass.
So what is T&E?
Talbot and Eggets.
Ah, better than your original.
So what we have here, we have a 5.5% IPA. The IBUs, which is the International Bitterness Units, hit about it was measured at about 62.8. So it should be somewhere within that range.
So a 62.8. What's high and low, and considered compared to a commercial beer?
A commercial, probably you've had wheat beers?
Yes.
A wheat beer, the high end of a wheat beer in terms of IBU would be 20.
Okay.
And most wheat beers, as you know, have like almost no hop character whatsoever. The average wheat beer is probably closer to about 10 IBU.
Okay.
A standard blue or Canadian probably is no more than about 20, 25, let's say.
Okay.
It's probably not even that, actually. Come to think of it. That actually might be about the Keith's range.
Okay.
For hops. This, like I said, is somewhere around, give or take, let's say 60 to 65. So depending on kind of how. There's a very complicated algorithm to it, but I'll explain that another time.
Beer algorithm. All right.
Very good. So what are we looking at here?
First, sorry. So it's a lot darker than the.
I got more of the yeast than you did. So mine is cloudier. Let's go with yours.
Okay, so the color. So I seem to have less yeast.
Yeah, I've got a lot more of a yeast haze here in mine, because I was at the bottom of the bottle. So yours.
Very golden color. I don't know. Hopefully the light's not.
Almost kind of amber, like what we're pushing. It's getting close to it. Close to an amber, which is nice.
So hopefully the lighting here is okay. That you can see it's very dark. And we're also talking about like the head where it's sticking.
Yeah, both of us ended up with that. And we did just rinse these glasses, so maybe that's part of it. But
yeah. Okay. So
let's see here. You should get some hop characteristics both in the aroma and the flavor.
All right. So it's a lot more hoppier than the previous beer that we tried, and. And it's sweet. Is that honey?
There's no honey, but you probably are getting some of the malt sweetness.
Okay. All right.
Aroma. So cheers.
Cheers. Let's see what it tastes like. Very smooth. There's no bite. I was reading about some beers where it's a little that sour taste, or that like when your mouth gets like puckers after you drink it. The rapture is coming. If you can hear that, folks. It's a female rapture.
That'd be the slow cooker.
So
if you can hear that.
So what is that? Whenever they say that, it's like almost acidic, where it stays on your tongue.
Yeah, you kind of end up with almost like in wine you'd call it tannins. Even in this it might kind of be like that. But I think I managed to avoid any such characteristics for the most part. I think at this time.
Okay, so you creating this beer.
Yep.
Would anything you'd want to change, or is this exactly? So this is you and yours and Will's creation.
Yes.
Okay. So could you recreate this?
Yeah, I think so. In fact, like this actually came very, very close to what I was aiming for. I was actually really pleased with this beer, and that's why it came out almost exactly as I wanted it to.
Okay. Now, what would you say the alcohol content would this be?
It's 5.5.
5.5, so a bit higher than your average beer. A bit heavier, but I guess an India Pale Ale is heavier than a regular Pale Ale, because this tastes a lot heavier. It was actually a little. Yeah, it is certainly in flavor profile, and also it is actually lower in alcohol than what I was aiming for. I was aiming closer to 6.5%. Okay. Now, would this be considered a true IPA in terms of would this survive trips?
I think I'm kind of borderline in terms of the style. I think I'm on the very, very low end of the alcohol, but I'm definitely within the hop characteristics.
Okay.
I mean, we even dry hop this through hop pellets right into the secondary fermenter. Let it go for 3 weeks, which is why you also get more of that hop characteristic in the aroma.
So if you left it in for 4 or 5 weeks, would it be hoppier?
I think it would, but there's probably a certain point where
the hops just give out.
It wouldn't matter anymore.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think?
I really enjoy this beer. This, I would say, is the wrong season right now for me to drink this. I find it a bit heavier, but it's very tasty. It's got this sweetness, almost like an evening fall beer for me, where we'd go out for a pint one evening. It's kind of cold and crisp, and I think I could enjoy a beer like this. A hot day, not so much. I think it's just a heavier, as you say, it's a fuller body, so it feels heavier.
Right. Well, thank you. Thanks for your feedback.
Cheers.
And yeah, we are drinking out of Keith's glasses.
Yes.